All right, today we're just briefly going to go over a new way of doing an extrusion. So if you look at the assignment, you should see what the finished product is going to look like. This is going to be some sort of bracket. The 1-inch part at the top right could hook over a 1-inch piece of wood, and you could hold your phone or something on maybe like a pegboard or something like that. So this is just going to be a little bent up piece of sheet metal. Okay. All right. You have the dimensions. Fully confident that you guys can draw this up. The one tip I'd give you, make sure you incorporate the origin or you're never going to get it fully defined. Okay. So pretty simple. This is done in inches. All right. This is a bracket that would hold a phone. Like I said, 1 inch right here. So make sure you've got your part drawn up to this point. All right. And we'll continue on. If you don't, pause it, make sure you're caught up. Okay. So most of us have probably tried, I know I have tried to extrude something in SolidWorks, and it's come back with an error essentially saying that's not a closed-in space. You can't extrude something that's open. And the reason for that is if you try to extrude a feature that's open, what you're actually trying, maybe even just an inch, what you're essentially telling SolidWorks is that you want to extrude the entire world 1 inch, which it just can't handle. That's too much. So we've had that error, but this way of extruding things using thin features or individual lines, we can use this in regular extrusions. We can use it in revolves. We can use it in sweeps, extruded cuts. We can use it all over the place. This is just going to be a super basic intro, and when it comes up later, we'll go over it then. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to go into extrude just like normal. Okay, and it's going to take a second, but it's going to come up and it's going to have already, SolidWorks is really good about kind of guessing what we want to do. Okay, so if we look here, thin feature, this would normally not be selected, but it is. Okay, in fact, it won't let us deselect it because, again, it doesn't want to extrude absolutely everything. That would make it crash. So it's already said thin feature, that's what you want to do. All right, and we can see if we look at it, all right, it's extruding some thickness. That thickness here is 1/10 of an inch. I know that that is going to end up being 4 inches. Okay, so we've got 4 inches. If you don't like it going that direction, remember you can flip it there. But we have a second option down here. Normally, it would just be the 1, but in this case, we can tell SolidWorks how thick we want that piece to be. So let's look if we change that to 1/4 of an inch. All right, we get an extrusion in one direction, 4 inches, and we get an extrusion in the X direction, okay, 1/4 of an inch. All right, now looking at this, I can see, well, I want this to fit over a 1-inch board, so that's not going to work because now I've actually only got a 1/2 an inch there, and maybe that's okay for your design. Maybe that's what you're looking for. In this case, it's not what I'm looking for. So just like always, I'm going to come in and reverse the direction. Now I lose a little bit of space here, but I could make that up if I wanted to just by dimensioning the rest of this out. It is fully defined, but I could change the dimensions here if I wanted to do that. Okay, but the design criteria that I want for this is I want a 1-inch gap right here. All right. Now, the other thing, if you read in the instructions, you will see this is made out of 14 gauge steel. All right. We don't have 14 gauge in here. So anytime you see an instruction like 14 gauge or a certain bolt size, what you've got to do is you've got to jump online and look that part up. Okay, so if you look up 14 gauge, it is going to come up and say 14 gauge is equal to 5/64. All right, what is 5/64? Well, we'll let SolidWorks do that math for us. All right, enter. We see that 5/64 is 0.078125, probably continues going on from there. But so that we don't have to enter that in, we're going to, again, let SolidWorks do that math. 5/64. Okay. All right. And that is everything. We've got a 4-inch extrusion along the Z-axis, and along the X, we have 5/64 or 14 gauge steel being used. When I hit the green check mark, that will come up. And I have already changed mine to galvanized steel. All right, I want you to switch it to some sort of steel. To do that, remember, we come up here. Yours will say undefined or not specified, something like that. Right click on it, edit material. It'll take a second. On faster computers, it'll pop right up. On ours, it takes just a minute for the menu to come up. But here it comes. Maybe, there we go. And you can see I've already changed mine to galvanized steel. I will switch mine to plain carbon steel. You could change it to some sort of cast carbon, any of these. You change it to some sort of steel material. Hit apply. I can see that it has changed over here, and its material information has changed in here. All right. So that's everything. That's all I wanted to go over with thin features. Just know that it's an option, so you don't have to come to an offset. We can use it for all sorts of things. And it's just another tool that if you can remember that it exists when you need it, it will come in very handy.